am Sarita. You can follow me at Vine Me Up on all social media, and you can also follow the Swirl Suite on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to check out our previous episodes on wherever you find your podcasts and YouTube if you want to see our pretty faces. Tanisha and Leslie, what's up, girls?
Especially my pretty face. Okay.
Hello, hello.
Hello. I'm Tanisha, Girl Meets Glass, and you can find me at Girl Meets Glass literally everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about wine and drinking liquor and where you drink these things all over the world, mainly Europe, because that's where I live.
Leslie?
I am Leslie with Vino 301 Wine Concierge, and you can find me at on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to remember, and sometimes you can find me at Vino 301, or you can find me at Vino 301 Wine. But once you start typing it in, eventually you'll find me. So
Right.
yeah,
Yay.
so we're there.
Just Google me.
Exactly.
Get your concierge and get your life.
So, Tanisha, I know this weekend is not a holiday for you, but it's
No.
Independence Day weekend for us. And well, I'm pretty boring because I just been fantasizing about being in Essence and NOLA with everybody.
Oh
because
my God.
That's where all my
Happy birthday,
timeline is.
America.
My entire
Literally
timeline
everybody.
is
It's
that
videos, it's snaps,
Essence.
it's IG stories, and I'm like, you know what? I'm about to throw my phone out the window.
Yeah, pretty much. But,
And not even just the concerts,
Yeah.
like all of the seminar,
Yeah.
all of the seminars,
First of all,
and
they
then
premiered Insecure and Girls Trip, and
Yeah.
everybody's there. Queen Sugar's cast is there. You know,
Just
I mean, everybody who's somebody is there.
Now, have you gone before?
Yeah,
Have you guys
I've
contest?
been before.
I've done
I have not.
Really?
I have not
you've
come on.
Well, you're from New Orleans, so
Yeah. It used to. Well, you
Really?
know,
Why didn't I know this? Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's probably why you haven't gone. You're like, oh, I got to get out of here.
Well,
Essence is
one,
there.
it's hot as Hades there.
yes, it is.
Absolutely.
But you know, it is what it is. And I used to take an annual girls trip, and it was always the same weekend.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had to make my way down there.
Yeah.
Also, I think Essence is now starting to get as big as it is. Like before, it kind of just used to be just the musicians, just the concerts, and you went down for that. Now they have all these seminars and the bloggers, and they have a natural hair expo, and then they have these financial empowerment things. They have all these other things with it now.
Right.
So I think it's just like much, much bigger than.
Oh wait, Tanisha, can you tell everybody about Essence in Paris? They coming to Paris, right? Did you say Paris?
No, South Africa.
South Africa, yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
South Africa, yeah, they did it for the first time last year in South Africa in November, since the Southern Hemisphere, the seasons are switched. So, this November, they're supposed to be doing it again. And they did a lot of local South African and African artists, which I think is kind of dope.
That's awesome.
They're hoping to have it bigger this year. I wanted to go last year, but like they were a little slow with the planning and the giving the information of what was happening.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, y'all can have me out here. And this year I'm not going or can't go again because it's the same time as WBC.
Okay.
So
got it. Okay. Well,
that's around my birthday time. So I'm like, oh, this would be perfect birthday present to myself in South Africa. That is like the top of the list where I want to go. South Africa is the number one place I need to go in the next, I wouldn't even say 5 years because it needs to be shorter than that.
Leslie, have you been to South Africa?
I have not. That is on the bucket list.
Sure.
It is definitely on the bucket list.
Because wine.
Right. What have y'all been doing this weekend? Did you have a lot of tours scheduled, Leslie?
We do for next weekend.
Oh, okay.
For upcoming July 8th, 9th weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do. But it's all about the crabs.
Oh, well,
4th of July in Maryland. It is all about.
I miss Maryland.
Sure. Are you a crab? Can you like pick crabs, Tanisha?
Yes, I'll put gloves on and work. I put
You
gloves
put
on.
you put
So
gloves
you
on.
use gloves.
I use plastic. You know, the little plastic tight surgical glove. Yeah, because I have nails, and I had some experiences before when I didn't wear gloves, and I'm like, well, this not what I want.
Ah, you
I
got to
can't even
get
do
in
it.
there. Are you a
So I get in.
mallet? Are you a mallet girl too?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be a
Once I
different
rip the back
experience.
off and then mallet it
See, we can't sit at the same
and
table.
beer
We just
and
can't
beer.
sit. It's okay. Yeah. We can't sit at the same table though.
Oh,
It's
you
too
don't
much.
mallet?
It's too much noise and it's a lot. It's a lot.
So what? You just eat the corn and the potatoes?
What you mean?
You don't do crab?
No,
Wait, I'm
I do
confused.
crabs the right way with no tools.
Oh, girl, no. Sometimes I mallet. What? I'm not from Maryland.
Now, for a long time, even though like, I spent most of my life in Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
because my family's from Louisiana. And so when my dad would cook crabs, he would boil them.
Uh-huh.
He wouldn't steam them like they do here in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would do the crab boil, and we would put the potatoes and corn in there also.
Yes. My
And then,
first crab boil was in New
mhm,
Orleans.
yeah.
And the thing is, the what it looks like deceives you because it doesn't look like it has any season. I was like, well, I don't
Mhm.
see nothing.
Yeah.
But when I started to eat everything, I was like, oh, all this flavor, you
Hmm.
can't even see it because it's like boiled into everything. Oh my
Yes.
God, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna call our special guest. Talk amongst yourselves while I call him.
I'm gonna talk about you in this mallet.
Girl, please. Our special guest is André Mack. All right, let me. Oh wait.
So, Tanisha, are you doing anything special for Bastille Day?
Yes, girl, they turn up for Bastille Day. So they have the night before on the 13th. They have what's called the Bal de Pompier, where the firemen and the ambulance workers have these different parties throughout the city in each neighborhood. And so I'm going to the one in my neighborhood because that one is like the complete turn up. We sneak drinks in, but then we also buy bottles of champagne there because they have bottles for like 20, 25 euro. So we'll do that. And then the day of, it's parades, it's picnics, and then the fireworks at night because it gets dark here late. So the fireworks don't actually start till 11.
Oh wow.
So yeah, because it's seriously not dark until then. So there's that.
Well, last year, the most amazing thing is when they lit up the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
I was like, how did they do that?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and the fireworks like shoot out of the tower. It is a fantastic show.
Yeah.
It's just annoying trying to sit out there, and now it's going to be even more security, especially after what happened last Bastille Day.
Yeah.
And then with the different things that have happened since then. You got to get out there so early. Like the fireworks don't start till 11. People be out there at 2.
Yeah.
Girl, what I'm about to do outside all day? I mean, it might be hot. I don't know. Last year it wasn't hot. I had a sweater on, like a little light sweater.
Well, I was really amazed last year. You already had all this security. I mean, I have never seen security tanks, just hundreds of police officers, which I was surprised about.
Yep, but yeah, you got to sit out there too long, and then bathrooms, food. So what else you gonna do if you sit out there all day? You're going to drink.
Yeah.
You know how I did it one year. You know how drunk I was by the time the fireworks started. Because I think I got out there at like 4, so I drank till 11, like 30. I'm like, well, and since you're sitting there talking and it's hot, that year I think it might have been like 88, 89. You know, something kind of warm.
Oh my goodness.
And just talking and drinking and talking, and it's light snacks. Because, you know, French people don't eat for real. So it's just a bunch of bread and cheese. And then when I got up to leave, I was like, oh, gosh, I am drunk. And there's so many people. So we had to walk like 20 minutes to get to a train station that we could actually get on the train because it was too many people at the closer train station. We're like, no, we're going to walk out and go. Man, I was like, okay, so this was cute, but I'm not doing this again. And I proceeded to not do it again.
Have y'all ever watched the fireworks on the mall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will never do that again. I've done it once.
Yep.
And
I did that once.
It was just too many people. I couldn't really relax and enjoy myself, and I was like, nah. I live here. It's fine. Because there are points in the city where you can see the fireworks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
From my
So I went. Once I found other points, I was like, oh, well, we're not doing this whole mall business again.
Exactly.
I know, but you know what? Okay, before we had this heightened security, you could bring anything on the mall. Yeah. Like anything. Yeah. I remember one year after the fact, because they always do like the park police and what have you. Someone had brought a sofa out there. Yeah, you could bring anything.
Who's even carrying that? How did you transport that to the mall?
That's too much.
Well, you're probably like, let's get rid of this sofa. Oh, we need something to sit on. We'll take it to the mall and just leave it there.
Oh no.
It's nasty.
But now you can't hardly bring anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you even bring like your just fold up chairs, the picnic type chairs?
I have no idea.
I don't think so. You can just only bring blankets.
Oh.
And then they do a bag check.
Yeah.
Can you bring like water or other like drinks and stuff? Just probably not glass bottles.
Not glass bottles.
Yeah, because I know here you can't bring glass bottles.
Yeah.
So all of our wine is in.
What?
Girl, yeah. Or they do have someone, or we'll get get wine in the the bag that comes in the box of wine.
Yeah.
There are some places that sell it like that.
Are you serious?
Girl,
that would throw my mind, because doesn't it look like urine, especially if it's a white wine? It looks like urine in a bag.
It does.
It's so unattractive.
It is absolutely unattractive. Well, luckily it's not. The bag is not clear. The bag is like the color of the wine.
Well, can you do the cans?
Or you can do cans, but it's not too many that do wine brands that have cans that we could get here. It's one called Wine Star. That's a French wine. I actually did a Beaujolais Nouveau last November. Hopefully they'll do it again this year, so I could do a video on it. It was actually pretty tasty. It's just weird to me drinking it out of the. Oh, it should.
It's going to be one of our shows. I think either at the end of this month or August or something. But wine's outside the bottle.
Okay, that'll be a good one. Yeah, I'll just have a big old bag.
Because I'm starting to see more canned wines. It's not a lot, but there
are quite a few though.
Yeah.
When I was at home in Chicago, I think I saw like maybe six different kinds. They even had a sparkling.
Yeah.
I did see somebody had posted on Facebook. There's a sparkling.
Yeah.
In a can.
Oh, you know who that was? It was Madeline, Wine Folly. She just had she recently had a sparkling rosé in a can. She said it was good.
That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the girl who I like and slightly obsessed with, Whitney A. She did a video a while back. I don't think it was this year. It might have been like last summer, or I don't know when it was. But she did a whole bunch of different wines in a can and wines in a carton and things like that.
It's just I can't get past it. To me, it has a tinnish taste.
Yeah, I can't drink it out of the can. Like, it can come in the can,
but you can't.
But for me, because also I can't drink wine like that. Like, I don't know. Like, wine is weird to drink, like, a lot at a time. Like, in a glass, you'll sip it.
Right.
But in a can, you just take a bigger gulp. I don't know if that's just how the can works, the mouth. I don't know. You take a bigger gulp. Just like how...
I don't have that problem when I drink straight from the bottle.
Wait, you
and
said
I actually can't drink from the bottle. The straightest of faces. She was like, I don't know what y'all talking about.
You don't want to wash that glass. You're just like, it's just a little laugh. I'll just.
Wait, what is that called? What is that called when you drink the wine from that little? It almost looks like a teacup, and you hold the bar. What is that called?
I don't know.
But I know it's thing.
It's like a Spanish tradition or something.
The Poron. Hold on, I'm about to.
Wait, is that
I think called? It's Poron. Poron. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
It's
Porron.
If you follow me on Instagram, when we were at
that's
BBC last year, I didn't do it. I recorded other people doing it in California, and it was fun. It was fun because it was Spanish themed. So they had Spanish wines, and we had paella, and they did that and sort of passed it around.
Oh, yeah,
did Miss Paella make the paella?
Girl, bye. Don't do that.
Right, that's what I said. We're not doing that.
You know she's not our friend. Is everybody caught up on all the shows? Did everybody?
Yeah.
Show.
Power
Because
last.
you know I'm behind.
Okay.
No, I can't watch. I haven't watched Power yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we can't talk about it.
I'm sorry. We absolutely cannot.
It's really good. It's good.
I bet it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just turned my life inside out.
Yeah, for real. It's stressful. Very stressful.
I think I have a candle lit. And I keep the candle lit until all things.
She be burning sage. Like, come on, just waving it in the air, like just. Nam yo renge
You are stupid.
Now people listening to this not gonna get it, but people who watch it, sorry those listening, you gotta watch.
Hey, you gotta watch Power.
Yeah.
You have to watch Power.
Yeah. Okay, I'll catch up. I just figured like I let a few episodes go by and then I could like watch a lot of them together because I have heart palpitations. Like I can't watch one at a time.
Really?
It's too much. Oh my goodness, I'd be literally about to have a heart attack. I get too invested in television shows, and I've been feeling like I really know these people. Like I'm really invested. Like this is like it's happening to me or somebody close to me.
Right.
So
yeah,
I need to watch all at once. Like when I finished watching Greenleaf, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like my family. What's gonna happen next?
So one of my favorite podcasts, Yes Girl.
Oh yeah.
Essence, they interviewed the director from Power.
Yes, it was really good.
Courtney Kemp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she made an interesting observation that I had never thought about before that I want to pose to you girls.
Okay.
So she said she used to get stopped on the street and Black women would give her shade because Ghost was with Angela.
Yes.
She was like, well, why do you have him with this woman of not of color? And she was like, Angela is Puerto Rican.
Right.
And that's New York. And in New York, they don't see the difference between Black people and Puerto Rican people. But outside of that area, they do. Yeah. Which I thought was a very interesting observation because I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. They all
watching the show, I didn't see her as white. I definitely saw her as a woman of color. So I don't know. That's how I look at it. And I don't live in New York, so don't know. Andre's here.
Look who we have here.
Hello.
Here, let's maybe that's a little bit better.
How are you?
How's that working? I'm doing great. I'm a little hungover.
Oh,
hey. we
pre-4th of July turnout. A little July 2nd turnout.
We normally say it. I'm a little dehydrated. So
I gotta use that.
Yeah.
From now on, I'm using.
With my kids around, it's always I'm dehydrated. So
when they get older, they're gonna be like, now I know what Daddy used to be saying.
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna be like, yep, I know.
Well, André,
all right, hold on a second. I think.
Welcome to the Swirl Suite.
Thank you.
So for those who don't know who you are, introduce yourself.
My name is André Mack, aka Mouton Noir. That's who I am.
And he's an awesome winemaker.
Amongst other things. Yes.
I would agree.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just to give the full introduction. Yes. So, yeah, my name is André Mack. I make stuff. I was about to say shit. I make shit. I make wine. I make T-shirts. I
make things happen.
I make coloring books. I do all kinds of stuff. There we go. Look at that.
This T-shirt
is so good to see it.
I should have worn my T-shirt. Oh my goodness, I forgot.
Your Instagram is always popping, and I love.
Thank you.
So he'll on his Instagram story he'll put his new T-shirt, and I saw this one. I said, well, look at that. I'm breathing grapes. I love it. So I had to get that one.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
No, cool. Thank you so much. Yeah. No, it's absolutely about eating, breathing, dying for this thing that I love. So it's definitely not like a job. So
sure. I think everybody here knows how you, or knows why you started to make wine, because you wrote some for many years, correct?
Pardon me. Yes, that is correct. For me, it was just learning about wine, being fascinated with the grape and being fascinated with the beverage. So for me, it was a little bit different. I felt like I became a sommelier because that's where I learned about wine. Right? If I learned about wine and worked on a vineyard, then I think my story would be a little bit different. But for me, it was more about it was easy for me to grasp the concept of wine in a restaurant because I had worked in restaurant for so many years. So for me, it was just, that part was easy. This was just something new.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when you do something for a very long time, it can become very mundane or monotonous. And
Sure.
you look for different ways to kind of spin your energy within that. That's how I never get really bored of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like you're like, oh, okay. Like, let me focus on something else that I'm more excited about than just like the day-to-day part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like driving, you're like, oh my God, I'm driving, I'm listening to the radio.
Right.
All right, but you know what? How about I count the signs or
Mm-hmm.
the signs that have blue in it, right?
Yeah.
Now it changes your attention and it's not as, it's not boring anymore. And I think that's what happened to me working in restaurants. Like the mechanics of, going up to the table, talking, all those kind of things I knew,
Yeah.
and I could do in my sleep. The difference was that like, hey, here was this new thing that was wine, that was fascinating, that was, as you started to peel back layers of the onions, it was different things, right? It was, it was history, it was culture, it was food, it was politics. And that was the beauty of it for me. And so I consumed everything I could learn about wine. Every waking moment was about wine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you rise, then I rose pretty fast, right? In the ranks of, working at some very shitty restaurants to
Mm-hmm.
working at one of the best restaurants in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that was it. And so, now you're at the top, right? And you have other sommeliers working for you. And I felt like I didn't get to touch wine like I wanted to touch wine.
Mm-hmm.
It was more about managing people. And so for me, I decided that I wanted to continue to learn about wine, but the only way to really be able to do that was through making my own, right? And I think by making my own, it felt like I could continue to learn about wine, and I could scratch a few other itches I had.
Mm-hmm.
The big one was being an entrepreneur. The next thing after that was being more creative in my life. I felt like there wasn't a lot of creativity in what I was doing, right? It just felt, as sommeliers, I think we're more curators. We collect people's stories and
Sure.
we put them on a list
Mm-hmm.
very beautifully and all that kind of stuff. And there wasn't much room for creativity.
Mm-hmm.
I think a bartender is more akin to a chef, right? They actually make shit with their hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, you're like, like who made the margarita? No, I don't like how Betsy makes the margarita.
Right.
Like, I like how
Right.
Frankie makes it, right?
Right.
There's more of that. And I didn't have any of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make anything. And so that, I was longing for something like that in my life. And so, yeah, I at the top, having a really great time, I decided that I would leave,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a firm believer in, you have to give up the good in your life to get the great.
Sure.
And for a lot, and I think for a lot of people, it's figuring out, they can't discern between the good and the great,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? They're there and they're
Yeah.
like, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't see their life any further than that.
Right.
And for me, I was like, nah, it's got to be, here I was at one of the best restaurants in the world, one of the most anticipated openings in New York history.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there, I was there for 3 years and, and just felt like, wow, this can't be as good as it gets for me.
Mm-hmm.
It just can't be. There's got to be more to it, more than life than just this. Is this it? Like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And it just felt like, no, I don't think so, and I quit, just that simple. I quit and, decided to go at it on my own. So I don't know. That was kind of long-winded, short.
No.
I don't know.
No, that's
Yeah.
what we want.
Yeah.
Right. We need that. and that's what people need to hear, because I feel like a lot of people have a hard time making a decision to leave something that is good and something seemingly stable to like essentially jump off a cliff.
Sure.
So for people who have done it, and then you can, you know, say, look, I've done it, I have been successful. Or even if you haven't, like, you never want to look back and think, what if I had done this? Or I probably could have been great if I had just tried to do this.
Right.
No, regret is poison. You know, I mean, yeah, it totally is. And you never, you know, for me, I never want to say that I regret not doing something. The fact of it is just do it. And I think people dwell on decisions way too long. And it's like, go with your gut feeling and just react. Like, just go. Like, and, you know, and if it doesn't work out, if it's crazy, to me, it's just all a part of the story. Right? It just makes for a good story. You know, I showed up to do a wine dinner and we didn't have any wine of my wine. None, not one bottle. And I freaked out and I started to laugh. And then I was just like, you know what? We're still going to do the dinner and we're going to, you know, we were in the wine shop. So I selected all the wines that inspired me to make wine. And that was the wine dinner. Right? You know what I mean? Like you just, I feel like you just have to, you know, for me, you just have to keep moving forward. Right. And don't, you know, it's like, whatever, like it's this or that. And you just keep moving forward. And you keep, you know, it's always you know, a good idea for me. You know, it's always, you know, eyes on the prize. Like, what do you want? Yeah. Like, where do you want to be? And you continue to do that. And what you realize is that as you grow as a person, your friends or people that knew you or acquaintances, you've outgrown them. They don't know you in that role. So it's awkward to them. Right. You know? And so you lose some friends at some point, right? But the whole fact of it is you continue to grow, you know. And they always talk about, you know, your net worth, right? You know, look at your 5 friends and see what they're worth. You're probably worth the same amount, you know.
So, what y'all worth, Swirl Suite? I'm around. You know, what y'all doing?
Show me some paychecks up there. Let me see some bakes. But
you know, what's happening?
It's also good that when you talk about it, you have this tremendous confidence, but it's normal to have those butterflies that people don't, when they have those butterflies, and so they're resistant and they say, no, I'm not going to do this. But that's part of the process. Like, if you didn't feel a little nervous, then it's not the next challenge in your life. Right. It's still the same quell. And so I think it's okay to have that feeling.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, and at some point you get used to it. You know, it's like, hey, how do you get up there and talk in front of all these people? It's like, well, I mean, you just show up, you do it. They're like, are you nervous? And like, no, not really. You know what I mean? You're kind of used to it. It's nervous energy and not knowing how the crowd's going to react to you. But other than that, like, I know what I'm going to say. You just get up there and you just say it. But, you know, I think the hardest thing that I had to deal with is, you know, this sense of, you know, it feels like a house of cards. Like, at any given moment, it can all come tumbling down. Yeah. Right. You're like, if dude doesn't pay me, you know what I mean? Like, it could all go away. And so being an entrepreneur, I mean, you know that, Tanisha, right? Like, being an entrepreneur is very fleeting, you know, and you're like, oh my God, you're like, it could be here today and gone tomorrow. And just a series of, you know, one thing can trigger a series of things. But, you know, I don't know, that was kind of the thing, you know, and I read, you know, the book about Steve Jobs, and he talked about how having that feeling, but like, it's the reason why he could never stop working. It's the reason why he could never stop pushing. You know, here was someone that was worth $7 billion, but it all felt very fleeting to him, right? That like the next day it could all be over and taken away with. And, you know, and I think that, you know, for me, you know, that's one of the driving forces for me besides, you know, legacy, you know.
Wow.
Yep. And mortality, right? Because that's my whole thing. Like, I want to live forever.
Okay.
Right? But I have a problem. I have a problem with death and mortality. Like, I just can't. I can't think about it. Right? You know what I mean?
Sure. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't just.
No, I can't. I can't. I just go for it. I'm sorry. Is this what the show's about? I'm sorry.
The show is about what you talk about, Andre. The show is about what you talk about.
You today.
I mean, probably not the death part, but like everything else.
Downer. No, but I mean, but it is. It's the biggest motivating thing in my life is that I know that I'm going to die. Right. And not knowing what, the world continues to go on, but like, I just, that I'm not going to exist anymore means I want to do more in life. Right. Like there's never a down moment. There's never this, I'm constantly moving. I'm constantly thinking about things. I'm doubling down and investing in new stuff because, there's just so much I want to do on earth. And I know that I have a very limited time. And also I know that I'm moving a lot faster than most people can keep up with. Right. So, I say to myself, that I think that's why a lot of times you look at my body of work when it's all over and said and done with, and you'd be like, oh, this guy was a G. You know what I mean? Like this guy did all these things. Right. And I think right now, most people don't, they don't, give people their flowers now, as I like to say, right? Don't, why they're dead to celebrate them, right? And so I don't know, that's a big motivating thing. People ask me a lot about drive, and it is knowing that that I'm going to perish, and we don't know when, right? But that's the one thing. That's for sure. That's the one thing that's guaranteed in life. So for me, that's a big part of why I push so hard and to do the things that I do. At the pace that I do them.
Sure. So to switch gears a little bit, I had questions about your wines. Yeah. So what kind of wines do you have on the shelves right
now? We specialize in Pinot Noir. That's what the Willamette Valley does best. I dabble a little bit in Chardonnay. Just I wanted to make white wine. So we make Chardonnay. We make a little bit of Pinot Gris. We make a little red wine blend, which all kind of started for my love affair of Syrah. I'm a Syrah freak, and I wanted to dabble in that. But we make a red wine blend that's Syrah based. Do about 6 or 7 different single vineyard Pinot Noirs. But Pinot Noir is generally what we do best. The bulk of my business is stuff that's generally poured by the glass in restaurants. That's about $25 or under on the shelf. It's supposed to be $19.99, under $20 on the shelf, and that it generally is, just depending on states and taxes. But for me, it was about making what I like to call food-friendly style wines. Wines that not only were transparent and honest and truly spoke of a place, but wines that that weren't tricked out on oak. They weren't they weren't overly fruity or ripe. A lot of these things I find that, they interfere with, the versatility in wine and it pairing well with food. The common thread throughout all the wines I make is acid. That's one of the things that you will definitely be able to understand when you taste the wines is, acid's an amplifier, right? The reason why we put salt on food, lemon on seafood is to really crank up the flavors of a dish. And that's what I really wanted. And I think you need to have acid, for longevity. And when you're talking about opening wines for by the glass, but, and I'd like to have fun. If anybody's ever seen, the names of our wines, the way they're labeled, the wine business is traditionally filled with a lot of pretense and pretentiousness. And
we're not.
I feel like that.
Right. Not at all.
But I think that the biggest foil to pretension is humor. To kind of cut through that is to have a sense of humor and not take yourself serious. I'm serious about what I put in the wine, what we put inside the bottle, but I'm not serious about all the other stuff. Like wine is meant to be consumed and to drink, and it's not only a condiment to food, but a condiment to life, right? You know what I mean? It's supposed to make the conversations you're having with friends better, the music you're listening to, that book, all of those things are supposed to be enhanced, can be enhanced through wine. I don't make wine that's a centerpiece, that's meant to be the centerpiece on your table, that, that's supposed to be worship. It's not. It's supposed to be consumed. And that's really kind of, how I live my life in the same way. It's about being present, and enjoying life and being present in everything that's going on and having a good time. And those are I think the wines are conveyed that way when you see them out in the wild, so to speak. We have our rosé, it's called Love Drunk. We have our stainless steel Chardonnay, which is called Knock on Wood. So the whole idea is to have fun with it, and I think, a lot of, for me, I don't knock anybody. I don't, because I don't really give a shit, right? You know what I mean? Like, I want to do what I do, and I think there's enough room for everybody to do what they need to do.
Yes.
Right. So for me, like, it just didn't make sense to put André Mack on a label in cursive, right? I mean, what does that mean to anybody? Right. And I think that's a lot where the pretension lies, right? You're like, so this person is special enough that they put their home name, and I get the other part about family and legacy and all that kind of stuff. But, I wanted to name the wine that would result in some type of emotion from someone who saw it. Right. They're like, oh, Love Drunk. Oh, wow. What's that? Or OPP on the front. Like, hey, I remember that. Like, what is that? I think it means this, and I think, it starts with an emotion. That's the reason why, and a narrative, right? It's the reason why we buy anything, right? Is because of a story, right? And our connection to that story. And so for me, I felt like the best way to be able to connect with people, or for them to understand me in a nutshell, was to not name the wines after me, and to label them in a playful way that I felt was more inviting. So those are the styles that we make. All the wines are made from in the Pacific Northwest, the Willamette Valley to be exact. We are right in the heart of Dundee, on Highway 99.
Cool. It's interesting. I like the fact that you did name them something other than like your name, or just grabbing a random word or something like that, because it also starts a conversation. If people see, like you said, they see OPP, they see Love Drunk, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, they're like, why is it called this?
Right.
So they either want to ask their friend, or they ask the wine shop owner, they ask the sommelier. So like, it starts a conversation, and then once people start talking about wine, they always learn so much more than just what they would have known by just picking any random bottle and then just drinking it. Not having
you're absolutely right. Absolutely. And, and they're more likely to pick it up, and picking it up leads to buying it. It's about, and I like the idea of when you tell a story, word of mouth, right? What happens is, I don't list a whole bunch of shit on the back of the bottle that, tells the whole story, right? Because when there isn't any information to turn on the back, now you want to go ask the wine shop owner, right? And now he can verbally tell the story, right? I think it travels better as word of mouth versus me writing it on the back. And I don't know, this is something that that I picked up on, that I just felt like, I mean, the whole thing. I worked in a restaurant where we didn't have a set wine pairing, right? The whole part of coming up to the table and tailoring a wine pairing to their particular likes was a conversation. It always started with a conversation. So what do you generally like to drink? Right. And I think a lot of times what happens is that, people don't understand that you're an expert on your own taste, right? You know what you like. And then when you get into a restaurant, you allow yourself to be intimidated by someone that comes there, and it doesn't really happen in other settings, but it's like, it's like, no, I know what I like to drink. And a sommelier, I try to tell people, a sommelier is more of a tour guide, right? They put together the lists, they know the varietals, they know all the stories, right? You're supposed to tell them what you like, right? And they should be able to figure out what you like, even if you can't even remember the names. And based upon that, they should be able to put together something tailored that they would think that you would like, because it's about conversation and talking to someone, and getting their likes. I know the wine list. That's because I made the wine list up, right? You know what I mean? Right. I know all the stories. Right. I'm a tour guide, right? And people don't understand. It's like, no, let them work for their money, right? You know what I mean? Like, hey, I like this, I like this, I like that, and I only want to spend $60. Now go.
I think people get tripped up at that part. They don't know how to articulate or to say what they like, because they think they need some special words or some special wine language. And so because what you do hear people say is, oh, I want something sweet. Okay, that's kind of the only way you'll hear some people describe a wine. But a lot of people will know to say, well, I like it fruit sweet, maybe with a hint of red berry fruit, or I don't like it with oak, or I like mine with a little more citrus or a little more exotic fruit. People don't know those words, or don't feel comfortable saying that, but can describe how much salt they want in their fried chicken. But it's so they just don't, because that's how I talk about my food. So, but like, people just don't know what to say. So how can how can we, like all of us being in the wine industry, like what are some things that we can do to kind of help people feel more comfortable just saying exactly what they want?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's proposing questions to them, asking those simple questions is easy. You know what I mean? In a way that's fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, oh, you like sweet. Okay, do you like sweet like, like a popsicle, like a purple popsicle, right? You know what I mean? Or a red popsicle versus like, hey, do you like, the orange dreamsicle, like that? You know what I mean? Where you more cream and vanilla on that side, or this is like more fruity and tart if it's red. So I think asking them in a way, talking to it in a way that's relatable, and I think you also have to know who you're talking to, right? You have to be able to switch gears and just by the conversation and talking to them, that, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to this person in terms of popsicles and the way they like to eat. Maybe I'll talk to them something this way, So,
right.
I think it's all just, and really, it's really about having patience. It's the wine professional having the patience to be able to talk to this person about wine, but also, being relatable and understanding that, that it's not always, a wine smackdown that you need to have with this person to show how much you have to know about wine.
Yeah.
You never gain anything by making them feel dumb. Right. It's just asking them questions. And I think part is our job is to educate, not to educate in a way that makes them feel ashamed or talked down to. Like, you know what I mean? I think sometimes, when you're educating someone, you talk down to them. It's not one of those things. It's just to give them nuggets and things that they can walk away with like, wow, I didn't know that.
Right.
And that's really cool. Oh, did I know that? So like when you say, hey, do you want, and I think the biggest misconception is that the whole dry wine. Yeah, I like a dry red wine, right? And it's like, well, most other wine, So it's just about taking a few minutes to explain to them, what you're saying when you say dry, you're saying sucks the moisture out of your mouth. A tannic wine that leaves your tannin sucks the moisture out of your mouth, so it leaves your mouth dry. And everybody's like, putting their tongue in their cheek, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's not that's not a dry wine. It's a dry wine, but it's not, so just explain that. But I think a lot of it is just patience and how you approach those situations. I think the biggest thing is for most wine professionals, it's easier to learn if you teach. So if you're learning and teaching, then I think you can adapt to having the patience that it requires to educate someone. It's not it's not an easy thing, and it takes a long time, So I would say have patience and really like take your time explaining it to them and understand that you don't have to use all the big words and try to be relatable to those people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I have a quick question for you, Mr. Mack. We were talking about stories, and I heard a little story that you may be opening a restaurant or something like that soon, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, look at that. Word travels fast. Yeah, no, I've been fascinated with charcuterie for many years. I think ever since I moved to New York in 2004. And I've always talked about opening a restaurant. In my wife's book, my wife wrote a book about our courtship and working together. And, a lot of that was, every time I'd walk into a restaurant, we would sit down and I would kind of look around, and I'd kind of shake my head and look at it and say, you know what, I could own a place like this. And I've just always wanted to own a restaurant. And now that I have children, I feel like, I have this theory that people who work in the hospitality business, they tend to be better people. They like to you know what I mean? To like, to serve, to wait on someone. You know what I mean? It's like you're gracious, and like and it teaches you humility. And I was like, man, like I want my kids to understand what that's like. And I think we should open up a place. And so I've been toying with the idea, and our main residence is here in New York, and New York's one of those tricky things. It's like you always move to the next best neighborhood that everybody can afford, and then everybody moves in, drives all the prices up, and no one can afford it again. And then you move to the next one. They're like, oh, here, and we've always lived in those. Besides my first neighborhood, and we moved to the cusp of like these great neighborhoods, and we've always were in need of food, right? You know what I mean? Like there was no place to eat.
Yeah,
So,
never.
we could never really spend any money in our community, right? So I was like, all right. And we were so we were never in a position. The resources weren't there and the timing wasn't right, because we always moved to a neighborhood. We're like, wow, we should probably open a wine shop here. We need a wine shop. We need this, and I've lived in my current neighborhood for 7 years now. And, the timing is right. And, after like visiting with you in France, that last summer, and hanging out in all these little small, these small little like wine bars and like, businesses, and I was like, we have to do it. And so we moved back and I started to look for spaces, and I found a space right around the corner from our home here, and it's just right. And so the whole concept is, it's what we're calling a ham bar. So ham bar, like a hamon bar. It's about 20 seats. You're getting an exclusive here today, the exclusive on Swirl Suite today.
It's going down.
No one else knows.
Like, tell us.
So it's small, it's quaint. It's about 20 seats. The focus is American charcuterie. So, it's American charcuterie, American cheese, and all American wine. So kind of the celebration of American food culture in that way. I think in like 2005 and 6, there was this kind of big American cheese revolution that was happening in the United States. And so now you had all these smaller, farms and people making cheese. And you're about to see the exact same thing happen in the charcuterie world here in America, as everyone else starts to like cure their own thing. There's lots of restaurants that are curing in-house now. Yeah. I was just fascinated with it. I remember a friend who was living in Ohio at the time, and we were talking, and he said that, prosciutto in Italy, they can't keep up with the world's demand. So they're buying lots of hogs from Ohio, American hogs.
Really?
And I think how the law, I'm not sure. I think how the law, they have to be slaughtered there in order to be called prosciutto, maybe cured in a certain method, but the hogs don't have to be from Italy. And I was just fascinated with that. I was like, so our hogs are good enough to go there, so it was this interesting thing.
So why don't we use our own hog? Let's do something with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to take anything away from prosciutto. Prosciutto is delicious. I love it. And I had some prosciutto yesterday, right? But the whole idea was to like have this place, and there's a lot of different things, So I first Mario Batali restaurant I ever went to in New York. It was probably like the first week I got here. I remember walking in and, kind of looking around. It was busy. It was bustling. And then I see this thing behind the bar that's kind of Ferrari red. And it's like nickel plated silver. It's bright. And I'm like, what is that? I'm looking around, and lo and behold, it's this. I was like, what is that? They're like, oh, that's a Burkle. That's a hand cranked meat slicer. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. And I remember saying, wow, man, like, I want one of those. Right. Okay. And I found out how much it cost. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never getting one of those. Then, that was like my initial reaction.
Do you have a baby version? Like that sits on the table?
Right. I'm like, I'm going to get one. I need one of these things. And then I was telling a friend, I said, not only do I want one, and they're like, so you're going to open a restaurant? It's like, no. The pimp shit is to have it in my house, right? And they're like, what do you mean have it in your house? I was like, no, I want one of these meat slices
come over
in my house. And that's absolutely how it works. And so about 4 years ago, I bought one, and so that's right there. Can you see?
Wow!
Oh,
it's right there.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So everybody thinks it's an antique, and they're like,
it does look
so
like one.
Yeah. And so this was built in 1910, and this was built, this is built off the Burkle patent, but was made by the U.S. slicing machine, which goes back to this whole American celebration. They used to make these machines. IBM used to make these machines right before they became IBM. And so the whole idea, so I'm in my dining room right now, and we'd have people over, and we would slice meat, we'd have cheese, and we'd hang out, drink a whole bunch of wine, and all the meat lives in the refrigerator. So they're talking about big hunks of, prosciutto and Iberico and all this stuff. And, now my wife's complaining she wanted her vegetable crispers back, right? Because we have no room in the refrigerator. So I was like, hey, how about we just take what we do here and move it somewhere else? And so the place that I'm opening is really just an extension of my dining room, right? It's, it's called And Sons for my sons. I have three sons. Our block has lots of young boys running around. And America's Sons, right? So it's just this thing, but it's called And Sons. We left off like the first name. Someone's like, And Sons, what do you mean? I'm like, well, like San Fran Sons, right?
I like that was your reference point, San Fran and Sons.
Right. That's right. So it's this Amber Sant Sons, and so we have two spaces. One space is what we call our ham bar, which is about 20 seats, so really small. And then next door we have what we call our buttery, which is our retail shop. So there you can get all the charcuterie and cheese that we sell next door to go. You can get coffee, sandwiches, that kind of stuff. But that's what you can get next door. So we've been hard at work. No.
Okay, so I was to say, wait a minute. Let me get my ticket to New York.
No. September is when we're looking at opening. So
right.
Oh,
we'll see. Yeah. So
also known
I think the Swirl Suite will be there.
Just another
thing.
Absolutely.
My plate, but it feels good to do something else, and it was always been a love and a dream of mine to own my own place, and so I think this is one of those things that it's like, oh, I could have used that money to do something else. But I was like, why not, double down, invest in something that I actually own, and contribute to our neighborhood, which is changing. Like there's no place to get a decent glass of wine, or to get any of those other things. So why not be able to do that, and build another extension. And I think wine. I try to explain to people that wine's a lifestyle. And people are slow getting there. And I think we've always thought that, right? Wine is a lifestyle. Like, but the lifestyle that most people envision was like, what was it? Falcon Crest? Was it Falcon Crest? No, Falcon.
The Carrington.
Yes, Falcon Crest is it. Falcon Crest, Knots Landing. Loved it.
Yep.
Yes.
That's right. Right. And so I thought, I think everybody thinks that's the lifestyle, right? Like sued and like you're rich, you're wealthy, and you live behind a fence with some acreage and with a manicured lawn, and I don't, but it's yes and no, right? It's like how you incorporate wine into your lifestyle that makes it a lifestyle. And so for me, it's just another piece to be able to show people, that wine's a lifestyle, and it's reflective in the things that we do. And so opening this place just seemed like the right thing to do. It's a family business, and that means a lot to me. Yeah. So we are beyond excited. It's obviously it's a lot of work, that kind of thing. But I can't wait. You know what I mean? Like I felt like there's another. I think it's another way for me to be able to be more creative, and I think people will see a lot more of my creative side in the space. How it's curated and all those kind of things. So I'm excited.
Now, will you be in there a lot, or will you have a staff that mostly works it? Or
there will be a staff there. I'll be there. I'll be in town. Whenever I'm in town, I'll be there. I mean, it's literally a 2-minute and 35-second walk with a toddler and a stroller. So yeah. So yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's literally right around the corner, and so for me, that was key. Since I'm not going to slow down traveling, but it's just key that it's there. And we obviously have somebody run it, the day-to-day operations of it, and but yeah. So yeah, no, I plan on being there a lot. And I think it doesn't feel like it's coming with the pressure of if it was like in Manhattan and it was a big production and all that kind of stuff. It's a straight
little neighborhood
joint.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, and and I think people will find out it, word of mouth as it kind of spreads, but like
I'm
no
telling
big,
everybody. So.
yeah, like no big anticipation on,
Right.
on either, I think for us, like people will walk in and stumble upon it and they'll like it.
Right.
And then do more research and be like, oh, that guy sounds like a cool guy. Or I've had that love drunk before. You know what I mean? Like for us, it feels like less of that. Like, you never know. You might catch me there. You might not catch me there. But, I'm trying to be conscious of that, right? Like I want to be there, but I don't want to fall into the trap where everybody's coming there thinking that they're going to see me, right? Because that could be, you know what I mean?
Like, they come spend the money and just like, oh, he didn't come today. You should come back tomorrow and buy some more stuff.
Yeah.
And wait.
No, he's going down or whatever. I think, abstinence definitely makes the heart grow fonder. Right? Like there's obviously people I see, and what better way to get to know my neighbors, right? Than to open up a business. Like people who own business in neighborhoods, they know everybody, know everybody's story. Right? They know the gossip, they know all that, right? So for me, it was just, it's I wouldn't call it a side project, but it's something that we've been into and a bit excited about, and I've talked about for years. And so, we are super stoked to open, to share with our neighborhood our lives in that way. We'll be bringing, all our friends that live all over the world that do something that interact in our life in some ways. It would be really great to bring them there to do what they do and showcase what they do in our neighborhood for a very small select group of people. When I say just only select, just because of the space size,
Right.
we have a friend that makes red beans and rice, and he does it for food critics in his home in New Orleans. He's a great storyteller and orator, and like he just started to take that show on the road. And so hopefully we got a slot with him that, we'd love to bring him to our neighborhood to cook
Call me on the red beans and
rice
rice day. Red beans and rice,
Yeah.
grits. Call me on those days, Yeah.
But share wine with it, just be really fun, and just like to be able to show and to be able to do pop-ups with our friends that are doing like really great stuff in other states, and like, hey, like, why don't you come and hang out? We're family friends, and we go on vacation together. We're like, hey, why don't you set up your like biscuit place here, and we'll promote it, and you guys do it, and bring the rest of our world and the people we interact with to our neighborhood, and so our neighborhood gets to see. I think we're doing a bread CSA. So we're just really trying to be involved in the neighborhood and sharing our skills. Like you think like what do I have to offer to this neighborhood? Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we did run, we worked in restaurants, worked in hospitality. Like, I feel like that's something that we can, that we're qualified to offer our neighborhood. So
that's amazing.
Super excited. Yep.
I had a quick question. So I have seen you on TV a couple of times, but my question is about the documentary that you're involved in. What is it? Red, White, and Black? About blacks
red, white, and black.
Yeah, blacks in the wine industry. Can you give us any detail about that?
Yeah, sure. It is. It's a cool documentary. My friend Tony is basically producing it, starring in it. It's minorities, so it's just not African Americans, but it's minorities business in Oregon. And I think it's a story of a guy who started to make wine, got into this industry, started to make wine, was doing his thing. And then I think, he looked up one day and, kind of looked around, and he didn't see anybody that looked like him. Right. And from that was this urge to tell, he sought out other minorities in the business in Oregon and, talked and had this conversation, and he wanted to film and talk about that and talk about our journey, in the business. And so it's going to be fun. I was super excited to be a part of it. It's just, a little bit about me, not all about me, but it's collectively about minorities in the wine business in Oregon and our experiences. And, I think Tony really wanted to give other minorities a platform to be able to tell the story, because he felt like the industry as a whole wasn't interested in hearing it, so to speak.
And do you guys have a release date for that?
We do not. I have to check in with them. I thought sometime in September, but I don't know, but
Okay.
I'll get you the information and maybe you can link it somewhere on the video here.
Absolutely.
I was about to say another exclusive.
Yeah.
But no.
That would be great. So I just have one quick question. First of all, let me say it is a pleasure to meet another André, because I am Leslie André with 2 E's.
Okay.
Another
Awesome.
Swirl Suite exclusive.
Yeah, right.
But we promote like local things. So I get so excited to hear other people that promote their neighborhood, because I think that's how we will continue to grow. So what is your forecast for American wines? Like, where do you see this industry going?
I think we haven't celebrated our history yet. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think what happens is that, and what we covet right now is we're coveting the small boutique cult status wines that have been building up, and that rival Bordeaux now, or that kind of thing. We're a young winemaking country. When you really think about it, most people ask, well, so why are Italian wines so much better and cheaper? Well, there's no inherent land cost. Like, they've owned that land for over 300 years, right? You know what I mean? Like, America's not even that old, so to speak. So, so it's one of those things where, in American wine, it is a little bit more expensive because they have to pay for the land and somebody has to absorb that cost, right? And it's normal consumers. But, what I think is like what we don't have, and kind of what, kind of the lead back into, what we're going to be doing at And Sons is, we serve a lot of old vintage American wine, right? And for me, it's to be able to show people the magic and the beauty in wine. About, like, there's always jokes, or in movies, like when someone brings a wine bottle over to someone and they're like, that's too young. You know what I mean? And everybody kind of jokes about this, this thing that you see in movies all the time. But the whole idea is, and there's a reason by that, like, there's something that magical that happens when you lay a wine down and it ages for, 30 years, 20 years. And most people don't get to experience that. One, because the average bottle of wine is consumed within 48 hours of its purchase. So it's never sitting around long enough to age. And so people can experience the other side of what this big, juicy, jammy style wine will taste like in 10 years, 20 years, let alone 30. And so, for me, I feel like we'll come back and there'll be a celebration of California and American wine that was produced in the 70s, that was produced in the 80s. And so the wine list at And Sons is filled with those types of wines that I've been buying, that I've been sourcing, just to kind of, to say that, hey, like, we don't have as long history of making wine as, say, the French do, but we do have some wines that have age and they're available, and they represent some of the best value wine on the market. And the thing that's happening right now is that there is no market for a lot of that stuff, right? There is no market for 1985 Clos d'Oval, right? There is no market for it, right? Because it's not a big enough name in the cult status world to covet large price,
Right.
And most people aren't buying it. But what's eventually will happen is that will dry up pretty quickly. And not to say that I will be on the forefront of that, but from my idea is, I'm on it. That's what we're buying. That's what we're serving. That's what we all drank yesterday at my barbecue. So I think people don't see, go back to value. People don't see the value, maybe at $15 current release. But if I can get a wine for $25 that's 30 years old, to me that represents value, right? Because what you're getting paid, what you're paying for, is someone who aged the wine properly, and that is just a beautiful thing. And those wines are different things, and it's a whole nother experience in wine that I would say that at least 85, if not 90% of most people who drink wine have never experienced. And so, where would I see wine going? American wine. So I see people celebrating the culture and the history, and drinking more vintage American wine, and seeing that market rise in price, and there, a market being created. I see, a lot of American wineries making non-traditional grapes from their area. And when you think about America, you think, Cab, Merlot, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, those kind of things. And you're starting to see people reach out and do stuff, Loire Valley style grape varietals. So like Cab Franc, all those kind of things, Chenin, all those things. You see a lot of that kind of stuff off the beaten path, wines that are being made. Overall in America, you're going to see a lot more sparkling wine. Right now that there's a lot more, now there's companies now, that the mobile sparkling, companies that basically go around with all the equipment and they come to your facility and kind of walk you through the steps of making sparkling wine. And so you're going to start to see a lot more of that. And you already have just, part with the natural wine movement with Pet Nat. So you have that coming in. And then also, the Americans are drinking a lot more sparkling wine, and it's just not champagne. And so you're going to see a lot more of that. And you've already started to see, I could tell you from, there's more being produced in the last 2 years than there's ever been before. Right. So that's what I see. There's lots of that. There's lots of kind of really fun stuff happening. I think, California is starting to experiment or experience it in the way where you're starting to see the next generation come over and take over, which is, so it's the daughter who's someone who's younger, right? And there's a gap, right? Because when that owner started, they were on the road traveling, promoting their brand, doing their stuff. And then you do it for 20, 30 years and you're like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. You probably hire someone else. And then now your daughters and your children are graduating from college and now they're getting into the family business and now they're getting on the road and starting to see that. And that, and I think that's, you're starting to see, the reboot of these brands in the way that they're appealing to younger audiences and those kind of things. And so you're starting to see that. That hasn't really happened in Oregon yet, but will probably be happening within the next decade, where you'll start to see that their children are now in the family business are out there being the face of their company. And I think those things matter. So you're seeing a lot of consolidation right now. You're seeing a lot of big California wine companies hedge their bets. They had a pretty bad drought in 2013. So you're starting to see that. And so they're hedging their bets by traveling further north, in a place like Oregon. And you're starting to see lots of people buy Kendall Jackson, all of those people.
Cool.
Amazing. Well, before we go, I'm just going to run through a bunch of rapid fire questions, and they are super black. Because this is definitely a black show. So,
I was wondering where your rapid fire questions were, girl.
Yes. Here we go. Okay, first one. Favorite Tribe Called Quest song?
Can I kick it?
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Chucks or Jordans?
Jordans.
Huh. I thought you would pick Chucks. Okay, I was wrong. Okay.
I kind of did too. That surprised me a little bit.
I do wear both.
Okay.
But like today I'm wearing Jordan. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Fried Spam or fried bologna?
Which one you gonna be serving the answer? That's what we asking.
That's a tough one. But you know what? Spam.
Really? Okay. All right.
Yeah. I love Spam. Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Wow. Okay.
We'll talk about what wine to pair with that afterwards.
Fried chicken or fish?
Fried chicken.
Okay. So last question. One drink, one song when your first kid was born.
So what do you want? You want to know what song?
Yeah. Give me one drink and one song when your first child was born.
When my first child was born, I was drinking 1988. What was it? Riesling from J.J. Pruhm out of Magnum. We had a big old party. The party was very quick because he was born very quick. But he was born in our house. But yeah, anyways, very quick. And one song, man, I don't know. My brother-in-law made a 13-hour playlist that was playing. Wow. And so I think I'm going to say any song from Saint Germain. I think Saint Germain was on there. So that's all I'm going to say. Cool. So Saint Germain, Magnums of vintage Riesling is what I was drinking and listening to.
Wonderful.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We know you are super busy. We appreciate you carving out some time for us. Tell everybody where your website, where they can find you on social media.
Sure. So you can check out our website at moutonnoirwines.com. So that's MOUTON, Mouton Noir, NOIR, wines, WINES.com. So you can find us there. Hit me up on Instagram at Mouton. So that's YOUKNOW Mouton. Mouton.